Man, I love it when a good plan comes together and we don't have to go anywhere across the bridge except for practices. Welcome to the PHLY
I'm already mad
Sixers
about that,
Podcast.
having to go there for practice.
Yes, Sixers Podcast here on a Wednesday where we have some breaking news with Derek Bodner. That's the breaking news. Derek's back with us.
I was going to say, breaking news is the fact that all three of us are in this studio, which I feel like hasn't happened all that much.
That's the breaking news. So breaking news, Derek is back. Kyle is back. It's breaking news as well. Same here for me. I'm Devon Givens. And Brianna is with us as well as you. But the breaking news, again, loving when a good plan just simply comes together, falling in our laps right here as the start of the show. Kyle, the mayor of the city of Philadelphia, Mayor Cherelle Parker, had a video, and we'll play that here shortly, announcing that she and the Philadelphia 76ers, the organization, have an agreement on the arena going forward downtown Center City on Market Street, like we've been talking about a bunch this offseason. It was introduced over a year ago that this was a possibility. And as things have simply gone on, there was some pushback, of course, with the surrounding areas, most notably in Chinatown and the residents there, understandably so. But we've all had some really positive discussions, some real honest discussions about how everyone feels, at least from here in our family, our group here, and discussing it all. And we finally have a bit of a resolution here coming from the mayor and the city of Philadelphia, Kyle Cherelle Parker. And yes. Good news to hear what she had to say.
Yeah, so do we want to just cue it up now for the people to hear, and then we can unpack not just this, but that recent town hall and sort of all the events that have happened. And
as important as I think we are, I do think the mayor of Philadelphia probably is a slightly more important.
She's very important. So with Bree being here and the great producer extraordinaire that she is, let's run this video on Twitter from Mayor Cherelle Parker.
Good day, Philadelphia, and hello, everyone. As your 100th mayor, I come before you from my City Hall office with a very important announcement. I am proud to share that I have made my decision and an agreement has been reached that will ensure that our Sixers are staying home.
That's right.
Yes,
Philadelphia
you heard
Sixers.
me correctly. My administration has reached an agreement with the Philadelphia 76ers for an arena in Center City, and I will be transmitting the related legislative package to our City Council of Philadelphia for its consideration where it must be approved. Philadelphia, I am proud. This is an historic agreement. It is the best financial deal ever entered into by a Philadelphia mayor for a local sports arena. And I wholeheartedly believe it is the right deal for the people of Philadelphia.
For the most part.
Now, I'm going to have a lot more to say in a forthcoming formal presentation. I am also going to be holding town hall meetings across the city of Philadelphia so that the people will have access to the facts that are contained in the agreement and the legislation as it moves through the city council process. But for today, I want to just say a few more things directly to the people of Philadelphia. This agreement represents more than $1.3 billion of private investment in our city.
Can I hold a
It will mean hundreds of millions of dollars in new tax revenues for our city of Philadelphia and our school district.
More meaningful.
It will also mean, and this is important, hundreds and hundreds of jobs for Philadelphians.
Bingo.
It means an economic opportunity plan, quite frankly, the likes of which have never been seen in our city. And it represents the start of an unprecedented revival of Market Street, Philadelphia's very first commercial quarter, which we know can reign supreme once again, from City Hall to the Delaware River. Now, to the good people of Chinatown, please hear me. I see you. I listened to you. I want your rich and vibrant community and proud history to not just survive, but to thrive. I believe we have the best Chinatown in the nation, and I am committed to working together with you to support it. Everyone, please stay tuned for details about our full presentation that will be forthcoming very soon. Philadelphians, as your mayor, I want you to know that I am proud of and excited about this agreement, and I am doing my best and working as hard as I possibly can to ensure that we truly are one Philly, a united city. Thank you, Philadelphia, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you to the mayor for that. Thank you to Bree for queuing that up for us. I guess, gentlemen, any initial thoughts?
For me, I'll go just number one, as Kyle and Derek and I and even Bree, we've all said it this entire time. The first thing for me was just simply, and I'll address this too, because last time we talked about this, you guys talked about it the week I was off, and the week before, someone said, Devon, why are you always making it about yourself? It's not me making it about myself. It's me talking about my city, from where I'm from, from what I'm used to. Things change in your city. Things change in your area. Even if you move outside of the area into different counties and suburbs and all, the city is still, it's my city. I'm proud of the city. There are things that goes on in every city where you can worry about so many different things. So when I say, for me, it's because me living in this city for as long as I have, I've seen a lot of things and a lot of changes. And one thing that I've pointed out is the change downtown, Center City, and specifically on Market Street. It has changed dramatically, where it is no longer the Center City, the Market Street that I am familiar with, that I am used to. And while I may be older and I may not be hanging downtown or hanging on South Street or going to the gallery after school anymore like I used to, I would still go take my daughters down to downtown, walk the streets and look at the stores, go to the mall and things like that. And there's just not a lot of things going on anymore down there. And so when I say it again, the fact that they have come to this agreement based on what the mayor has said, and they are going to remain the Philadelphia 76ers and not worrying about it being entitled only because they are just across the bridge that are only 10 miles away.
We don't want to be like New York, man.
We're not doing that. No, they are the Philadelphia 76ers, and they are that for a good reason. So I appreciate her saying that. The other part where she talked about the hundreds and hundreds of jobs, that then transitions to the part for me, again, where yes, this city needs more jobs. People need more jobs. And this is going to allow for not just the arena itself, for the people who are working in the arena, it's working in the surrounding parts of the arena where all of these other things may start to open up. And the boon is going to be there for this to start just happening once again, where it's going to be live. It's going to be vibrant down there. And there are going to be so many job opportunities for so many different people, both in the arena and the surrounding parts of the arena. And that is something for me that, again, I like to see, because I want to see everybody be able to thrive, to do what they want to do, to live a happy and healthy and safe and comfortable life for what they are doing. And it's going to be very, very, very good for those people who may be struggling to have a job, find things, making money overall, Derek, to just be able to have those different opportunities to be there and present it to them.
Yeah. And I think, there's a whole bunch. We've done so many shows on this, way more than I think I've ever expected to talk about an arena proposal. But the impact of the jobs and what it will create, the uncertainty over, Chinatown, even if that arena wasn't there, I do think from an economic standpoint, it was pretty cut and dry. And that's what we said on our last show. Yep. Obviously, there is a much bigger, in terms of displacement and interruption of that culture and that community is a huge concern. But when you saw Camden making that push, when you saw the job growth and the economic impact reports, it just seemed like the city wasn't going to let this get away from them. And they ended up tying it up pretty quickly. Not tied up. It still has to go before city council and all that. But the mayor getting behind it and working towards putting the plan and bring it towards city council, it just felt like that was going to happen.
Yeah. So I feel like I've been our de facto arena guy, because I went through and I read the 300 whatever pages of that the impact study that was put out, I watched 3.5 hours of town hall meeting, more like 3. The first half hour was waiting for people to get in, and then they were listening to Frankie Beverly, which, by the way, I don't know if we ever brought up on this show. Rest in peace to Frankie Beverly, Philadelphia legend. That had happened the same day as that town hall. And I'm glad that you brought up and that you sort of hit on, Devon, the Market Street component for, like other generations of not just Philadelphians, but like surrounding area, like people like myself. I grew up in the suburbs. I live here now, but I would come into the city Christmas time, Thanksgiving, all different times of the year. And that corridor was a big, thriving, frankly, touristy place that like you get lots of people coming in on the regional rail, lots of people coming into, and all the department stores are there, all the surrounding venues and things are there. And it's very clearly a shell of itself now. And Mayor Parker at this town hall spoke glowingly of that time in the past where she could go there and wanted to go there. And the moment that it became clear to me that this was going to get done, I know I've hammered on this show, on Twitter and everywhere else, that I thought that the jobs impact and the financials of this would ultimately win the day for a mayor that has lots of union support and a union town. Like, that's not something to turn your nose up at. $1 billion+ investment, hundreds of jobs, all that. But when she kicked off the town hall last week, Mayor Parker laid out some ground rules for the people in the room and said, look, this is going to be a civil discussion. I invited everyone here so that we can hear from you. And so everyone can, weigh in on, hey, I'm an Asian American immigrant and this is how it would impact my life. I'm a union worker and this is how it would impact my life and my family's lives in the future, and hearing all those perspectives, but doing so respectfully. And she, by the end of that town hall, was not happy with the general tone of what took place. And a lot of that was the Chinatown, or I should say the anti-arena folk, because they're not all, it's not all Chinatown. There are anti-arena people throughout the city for various reasons. The anti-arena people, when the unions and the pro-arena folks started to speak, were yelling and cursing. I mean, there was a preacher who spoke on behalf of the African American Chamber of Commerce in Philadelphia and was being cursed at, called names I won't repeat on this show. And there were several interruptions where the mayor stepped in and was like, we will have you removed from the premises. And so if at that point if it was like a 50-50, like, hey, you could sway the mayor one way or another, I think that's where she might have seen, or people around her would have seen, one side is just trying to say, this is our position, this is our platform, and we stand on it. The other side is trying to tear them down for saying, look, these are blue collar, hardworking people. Also, by the way, people of color in many instances who are leading the electricians, the carpenters, and all that. Mm-hmm. And they're being shouted down rather than, you can have a disagreement on this. We've said on this show, I believe if you are the type of person who thinks the Chinatown part of this conversation makes it a non-starter, I can get with you on that. I can see your perspective. What I'm not going to do is then go to people who are going to have jobs created by this, whose families' lives depend on this type of project, and shout them down. So I think that was an important component in all this from what I could tell. My hope is that this is not just like, the conversation can't just be about the arena, right? Like, this is the first and the biggest step. But what happens after that? I think if you're being pragmatic, which is what I believe in these circumstances, my hope is that the people from Chinatown can maybe get some more in the community benefits agreement and work with the Sixers on, like, how can we make this so you are good neighbors to us and vice versa? How can we make this the most impactful project it can be for Market East, for Wash Square West, for Chinatown? There are ways to go about that, right? Like, I know one example that there is going to be for Black-owned businesses, there is already a set percentage of vendors in the new arena that they will be Black-owned businesses, and the Sixers are committed to initiatives of that nature. Can Chinatown get some similar assurances on top of the affordable housing I know they're asking for? How do you assuage parking concerns? Like, there are dozens and dozens of different things. But I think now that this is a reality, now that the mayor is putting her weight behind it, everyone is going to have to come together to some degree and say, how do we work on this so that it does become, sort of a unifying place for people of all these different communities in that area?
Yeah, and with that, if I remember correctly, when they first started this, and to your point of having people already set to have, let's just say, some restaurants or vending areas in the building, some of the conversation early on was the same for the Chinatown folks, to have some of their restaurants to come over as vendors in the building as well. Will that happen? As Kyle said, we'll find out, but that's a start. And that's a small piece.
It's a very small piece.
But it's just, again, reaching out and saying, hey, let's do this part together, and continue to reach out to do the other things that are happening. The housing part is huge in the Chinatown area, as you mentioned. So I understand that piece. And if that is something that the city and all can work together to figure that part out, that would be fantastic for them. And no one's trying to uproot them and get them out. Yeah, it's going to be busier down there. But, I mean, busy isn't bad. And it's a lot of good stuff coming in with the jobs and the money. That would be the economic piece that comes into it, running through not just that part, but moving back again to the Chinatown area. It should be beneficial for everybody, and that's what we're all trying to figure out. Great to see everybody talking about it in the chat. Seems like a lot of people like it. We have a super chat. We'll get to that one a little bit later. Give more thoughts on what the mayor had to say about this agreement. Again, the breaking news, Mayor Cherelle Parker stating that she has come to an agreement with the organization, the Philadelphia 76ers, that they will remain in the area. Market Street for her is a go, and she is going to push this to the rest of City Council and make sure that it's going to be signed. We'll get to more of that conversation when we get back here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast.
All right, first up, we want to make sure we tell you about Empire today. If you're like me, I like to try to do my home improvement projects, but I also know...
Not me, Jack.
And then fail miserably and call someone who knows
better.
But
I also know I'm biting off way more than I can chew, and I need all kinds of help. And if you're like me and flooring is one of the projects on your list, Empire Today is a place that you want to turn to. With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have some copycats. But those copycats can't beat Empire Today on quality, service, or speed, so they advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire Today won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Empire Today keeps shopping for floor simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not to overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is as important as what they put in. And Empire Today has a virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. You might talk to someone today who was working in plumbing yesterday. Flooring is all Empire Today does. They live and breathe flooring, so you can be confident you're getting honest, upfront advice. They also service their own warranties, so with Empire Today, you won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for details.
And maybe you have to find another way to pay for that, right? You got to get these things done. These things can be expensive. You want to make sure your finances are right. TrueMark Financial's Reward Visa credit card is a great start for you through our great friends, obviously, of TrueMark Financial. You can earn rewards for purchase using TrueMark Financial's Rewards Visa credit card and redeem them for travel and retail gift cards, build credit through timely payments and low credit utilization, as well as enjoying that fraud protection that everybody needs with features like zero liability, traditional savings account, basic savings account, offering a place to deposit funds, earn interest, and withdraw money as needed as the holidays are approaching. You want to be prepared for that. Money market account, combining features of savings, checkings accounts, offering higher interest rates and limited check writing capabilities Easy access to your money when you need it, and you need it fast. The certificates, they have those as well. Very well rounded at this institution there. I'm telling you, folks, fixed term deposit account with a predetermined interest rate and maturity date, offering higher interest rates for locking in funds for a specific period. So if you're looking for a new financial institution, look no further. TrueMark Financial is the place to go, and they are federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. For more information, visit truemark.com/PHLY. All right. Welcome back. Get into it a little bit more. Anything else that stood out of the 3+ minutes there that the mayor talked about? I know we kind of got into the basics right from the start of what she said, but anything else jump out at you?
I'm not sure anything really jumped out from her statement. What I will say is in terms of timing, Mark Squilla, who represents the district, he has said that he will propose drafts of the bill 30 days before it actually goes before city council. That means the next city council meeting, if he follows that, next city council meeting that could be brought up by the earliest would be October 24th. So we've still got some time. From people I've talked to, the expectation is this will be brought to the council by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And beyond that, there's a little bit of uncertainty. Like I said, October 24th, if Mark goes through with his plan, would be the earliest it can come up. But I do think, I don't think anyone expects this is going to be months and months and months. I think this is going to be high on the agenda.
Well, so one thing I wanted to get to here while we're on this front, can we now finally put the idea to rest that the Sixers all along wanted to be in Camden, and their mastermind plan was, they want everything to fail so that they can build the arena in Camden? We've all tried to tell you, and some of these are selfish reasons, right? I think an arena in the city of Philadelphia increases the value of the franchise in a way that a new arena in Camden maybe does not, or does not as much, I should say. It would increase the value, but not quite as much. The Sixers have made an earnest effort to be part of Philadelphia, to continue to be part of Philadelphia. I did see someone brought up very early in the chat, what happened to the Penn's Landing plan? Why not there? Well, one, they got turned down for the Penn's Landing plan, and another developer was given that contract. Guess what has happened with that site in the year since? Nothing, because that developer has sat on it and made excuses because of COVID, and made excuses for, the financial outlook right now. We don't know where. It's a big real estate conglomerate, I believe, that was given that contract. The Sixers don't have the benefit of just if they don't get this done in 5 years, they have to play somewhere, right? There is real urgency. And so this is going to move full steam ahead. Now, look, there are certainly going to be, when you're developing in the middle of the city, there are going to be some unforeseen challenges they have to deal with. I'm sure there will be moments where, whether it's the Sixers, the city, whoever will be, they'll run into some roadblocks where everyone's like, I can't believe they're going through with this sort of deal. But this was not their first plan they put together to be in Philadelphia, to have their own arena. We've talked about it on the show many times that this is a Sixers versus Comcast fight underneath everything, right? For anybody who doesn't know the basic timeline, Comcast owned both of these teams for a pretty long period of time, sold the Sixers in 2011. The Sixers have been tenants since then, right? Mm-hmm. And they have made clear they don't want to be tenants anymore. Frankly, they don't even want the 50-50 split that Comcast has offered for their arena. They want to control their own destiny. There are, financial reasons behind it, certainly. That's always number one. There are also practical and sport-related reasons for this, right? I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with people with the Sixers during games, after games, before games about things they would like to have, things they would like to do in their current arena that they have to get approved before they do it, or they have to pay. I think they spent, I don't know, somewhere between $1 to $10 million, which I know is a big range, to upgrade their locker room in the arena, just because they, as the tenant, somehow had to do that, which that doesn't really make any sense to me. So this has been brewing for a long time. And it got to a point where it was either they're going to be the Market East Chinatown adjacent Philadelphia 76ers, or everybody's going over the bridge for games. And just on that front is why I ended up being supportive of, or I would say lightly supportive of the Center City Arena, because I don't need any more bridge trips over to Jersey.
Could you imagine that traffic? I mean, you already deal with it in the sense of being right there and having to come across the bridge to go to the sports complex. So you're going across the Walt Whitman, but imagine trying to get over there, right there off the Camden, into the Camden area, off the Ben Franklin, and trying to navigate through that small area. Walt Whitman is at least a little more wide open with how things are there, because it's built for that in a sense. But going over the Ben and being right there where everyone's going to that small little area. Like, Derek, when we went the other day and I went the one way, you were like, where the hell did you go? I thought there are only those two ways to go as soon as you get off of the Ben Franklin Bridge. And that would be just really chaotic. Even when going over to watch shows over there, having been there a few times, that was always a little bit of a challenge. Yeah. For it not to be a 20,000 seat arena trying to get over there. So that would have been a headache. It would have been a headache. And I'm glad they're not doing it. I'm just glad they're not doing it. It belongs in the city.
Now, on that front, the Sixers have not asked for public money as part of this project.
They've been saying that from the beginning.
Said it from the start, hoping they follow through on it. I do believe my biggest concern currently is that the whole basis of this project sort of rests on SEPTA is going to have to rise up to meet this new challenge and new demand, right? So I love this idea of, it's basically Philadelphia's version of MSG, right? Where you get off at Jefferson Station, you walk up the stairs, and you don't even go into the street. You can walk right into the arena, come from your home, come from your work, wherever you're coming from, go right into. Now, the problem with this is, with that many events per year, 41 home games in the regular season, the amount of concerts they're hoping to get. So they were saying in this impact study, double the amount of shows in the 80s. Let's say they get half of those. So you basically have a full NBA slate, 82 dates worth of games and concerts, plus the playoffs, plus potential like conference tournaments. Maybe at some point we'll see the Big Five there. Like, I think that would be a natural thing to happen. Is like, it's downtown, the central thing. Like, that's where that type of basketball gets played. So let's say on the conservative end, like 100 nights that you have events in there, and I think it'll probably be a good bit over that. You're going to need simply more trains in and out of every stop on the regional rail. And that's, just staffing those requires investment. Maintaining those trains requires investment. All the other things that go into that, there's going to need to be money spent in order to serve this arena and serve the people who you want to incentivize to take the train, because that is an important part of that impact study, where they say their goal of 40% driving is attainable, but if you go a few percent in another direction, you can create gridlock, you can create problems. And so this is something that I believe the Sixers are going to have to actively work with the city and the state on, to properly advocate for. Hey, there just needs to be more public transit access. And beyond that, you need to rewrite people's habits, right? Yes. Like, because of the South Philly complex, because of the Eagles, Phillies, and Flyers still going to be, as far as we know, in that part of the city over the long term, those people are going to continue driving, or a lot of people will continue driving to those games. And you're going to have to convince them, for this team, to do something entirely different. And so I think that this should be a top of mind concern for the city, the Sixers, and frankly, up to like the state and governor level, because this is going to require a complete mindset shift from a lot of people, including people who regularly go to games.
Yeah. And that public transit part, it's not just increasing the amount of trains to meet the demand, it's also increasing trains to change habit. Like, you've got to change habit years and years and years in advance of this arena, because quite frankly, like, you use like a lot of the public rails. And it's like, if you miss a train, then you've got to wait an hour. The frequency of it, I think, prevents a lot of people from really relying on it the way that they would. So I do think the city as a whole has to invest a whole lot more in public transportation. I think it's something the city's needed to do for quite a while. And I think this arena certainly brings that to a head.
Just to get a couple of people in the chat here, Jay of the Jungle says, as a South Jersey dude, I'm glad just to be able to have this one work out for him as a South Jersey piece. Then I go to Sun here in the chat. And Son says, I live in South Jersey. Took an hour and a half to get the Sixers games, depending on traffic. Got to add another hour now. And gave the, obviously, the facepalm emoji of, damn it, shaking my head kind of thing. I don't want an extra hour and a half. But if it does work out where you could maybe, if you felt comfortable, drive your car somewhere in Jersey to one of your nearest, as we talk about, making things available for people to catch the public transportation across the bridge and wind up right there, then maybe that will work. But those are the habits that Derek and Kyle are talking about, that if you want to go to the games, maybe at first you're going to be like, I don't want to do this. But you might find it a little bit easier once you do try it. I mean, so I hope it works out for everyone. Hope it doesn't inconvenience many people as they try to figure this out. But that's the Sixers in the city. That's their thing, as well as SEPTA and even New Jersey Transit, trying to figure out some things to help people get across, that they figure all of this out. We can't do it, so they have to do it. We can just talk about it and hope that it works out for everyone.
Yeah, and look, like, I do think there's a middle ground between, there are some people who act as if like Philadelphia has a non-workable transit system, which isn't the case, right? Like, I take it a decent amount. I can pretty much strictly take the Broad Street line, but I used to be on the Market Frankford line pretty often. I was near the Burke stop, right? Which is not the greatest stop in the world. And there, you see things that you wish you didn't from time to time. So there's got to be an investment from the community in like treating our transit system better than we do now, right? Like people just leaving trash and leaving things. That's a whole nother bigger conversation that when I run for mayor eventually. No more littering, everybody, and keep your damn trash lids on your trash cans. Anyway, but so the public transit thing is really, really important, and you're going to have to get through to some people that have preconceived notions of public transit in their mind right now that frankly are in many cases not true, right? Like, if you take the Broad Street line right now to South Philly to go to Sixers, Eagles, it's pretty easy to get there, right? Like, you get off at the station, it's like a 5-10 minute walk into the arena and you're just there. And I frankly wish that we were a city that embraced public transit more. I do think it would require more upgrades. I know, I believe it was X-Man in the chat said that there are some upgrades coming 2029, 2030. That
right on time.
Which that will certainly help this. But I think as important as any kind of financial investment and, lobbying at the city and state levels is just the habit building and breaking to get people to say, yeah, I want to take the train. Like, I want to do that. And nobody tailgates really at Sixers games anyway, other than playoff games for sure. Yeah. But so you're not destroying tailgate culture the way you would if you move the Eagles into Center City. But it is just a very different thing that fans for multiple generations really just have not had to grapple with something like this. So that's always the hardest part. And I would say if you apply that at a broader level, one of the reasons I'm happy that a project like this, not even this specific project, but a project like this is getting approved by the mayor and is going to happen, is that there is in certain corners of the city just like a refusal for anything to change, right? Like, and it's not gentrification. It's just like, we don't want anything to happen here. Like, it's the not in my backyard type of people, right? Like, you can develop over there and you can turn over this neighborhood, but don't do anything where I live. Well, that has allowed certain parts of the city, like in this example, we're talking about Market Street that used to be thriving. Certain parts of the city have gotten left behind, right? And you just see storefronts that are empty or boarded up or whatever it is, and it looks like a ghost town. And I talked with so many people on both sides of this issue over the last couple of months or so. And even the people who are anti-arena, and I certainly understand their point of view, have said, look, the things have to change. Like, we have to bring something to Philadelphia or we're going to get left behind as a city. Like, there is a feeling of that. And so the people who are excited about this project are like, finally, the city is going to invest in some, or green light something major, something that can change this neighborhood, something that can hopefully create, the same memories I have or you have or Derek has, anybody has walking down Market Street, create a different version of that for other people, for new generations of Philadelphia.
And when the Eagles are playing on Sunday or Monday Night Football, they don't have to show always the obligatory photo of City Hall or one other spot. They can now show you the new arena when they decide they want to show you something different. It's thriving with everybody walking down the street. I want to know what Kyle and Derek were coming in the city for, what they enjoyed on Market Street or Chestnut Street or Walnut Street when you guys came into town, when you were going to school at Drexel, saying when you were coming to town. I want to see what you guys were doing at that time. We'll get into that a little bit. Pick the brain of these guys on the PHLY Sixers Podcast.
Is it my time to shine right here?
It is your time to shine here as we
quite literally
turn it down, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, you hear me talk about them all the time. I'm going to talk about them again. If the future is bright for that Sixers arena plan, I promise I can speak properly. Then you need to get some Shady Rays as the glare comes off of that shiny new arena. With their quality shades that are built to last, our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames, crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. I don't have to tell you that I wear Shady Rays because you see me wear them on the show. I've told you, there are pictures on my Instagram of me wearing them down in Virginia Beach, down at the Jersey Shore, out in Las Vegas with these two upstanding gentlemen that I'm here with because they protect my eyes. They got plenty of different style options to choose from. So maybe one is your, hey, I'm going to the beach sunglasses. Maybe you got a pair of car sunglasses. That's the best part about Shady Rays. They're great sunglasses, but they're also affordable for you because of the deal that we're giving you. And by the way, if you don't love those shades, you can exchange them for a new pair or return them worry-free within 30 days. No risk when you shop Shady Rays. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays giving out the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
Yes, and then you got to make sure that with all that money that you have there, going on a little bit earlier, we talked about, you got your Shady Rays on. You got to make sure you have some other cool things happening, whether it's behind us here at home or maybe some overalls that you have to represent your team as the playoffs are right there in our forefront when it comes to the baseball team. And with that, got to find those overalls. Do you bring the overalls back? Do you do that? Do you not use those because they didn't work last year?
We all need some overalls.
Bring them back anyway, and you do though with our great friends from FOCO. FOCO is the leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. There are plenty of people out there who love to collect things, and this is the place to go. Best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. So with football season already underway, playoff baseball about to get underway as well, and then the Flyers and the Sixers getting started, you have to go to FOCO. You go into the basketball hockey game, show off your love with the team-branded friendship bracelets. Right there at FOCO, whether it's hoodies, jackets, beachwear, or even the overalls that we discussed, there is something for fans for almost every occasion. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided some awesome pieces for our sets. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY10 for 10% off. Make sure, again, you sign up as a diehard member. We get all these great shows. We had somebody in the chat, Derek, that was talking about they didn't know where we were. And now they know where we are here. So y'all could also, so it's not just our YouTube presence. It's not just our presence there on the Roku channel. If you're looking for us, you found us here at this spot talking Sixers basketball. We're not on the radio or we're not in other spots. Well, this is where we are, and come join us as a diehard member and make sure you take advantage of all the great things that we have here, from the written articles from Derek and Kyle as we get ready for training camp in less than 2 weeks now. The football season is underway. Bo, Zach, Les Bo, and Fran Duffy, Charlie with the hockey stuff going on there, and certainly with baseball, Jim Salisbury. We got you covered. So if you're new to our program here, welcome. Become a diehard member, sign up, and you won't be disappointed. You can also sync us up in the car as if you were listening to any three of us on the radio from the past. When you would hear us on the radio, you can sync our shows, whether they are podcasted or live, to your car and still listen. So you're driving to the new
But
arena.
hey, if you're only listening and not watching, then you can't see people compare me to both a cop and Tony Montana on the same show.
This is very true.
I don't know how this happens.
It's very true.
Who put this thing together? Me.
That's
who do
who.
I trust? Me. That's who.
One other quick note about the Die Hard program. There is a Zach Berman is releasing a book.
Yes.
And he is having a meet and greet here at the studio for Die Hard subscribers. So if you want, you can stop by, meet Zach, get your book autographed by him, and I'll even give you the privilege of losing to me in Papa Shot. You can do all of that in one night here at our studios. So go check that out at allphly.com.
So I think this is probably a good part of the show to kind of bring the chatters, the audience, into it, right? Because this is like, even if you're not a Sixers fan, you could have stumbled into this show just because it's a big project in Philadelphia. This is going to impact everybody, right? Like, and so there are plenty of dissenters. There are plenty of supporters in our chat. I think probably leans toward support just because it's like, it's the Sixers and they're staying in Philadelphia. But one thing that Slade brought up in the chat said,
everybody needs theme music, man.
They need to really look at where DC failed and try to improve on it. And I agree, because I want to make note of this. It was a similar but not the same situation where there was a historic Chinatown neighborhood in DC where they built the arena there. And that, I don't want to say wiped out their Chinatown, but certainly changed it basically forever. It's important to note in that situation, their arena actually required knocking down things in Chinatown. And if we take the Sixers at their word, if the city and the mayor hold them to the standards that they've set, they said, we are not taking any space beyond, that fashion district mall area. If they were to go beyond that, they would invite a wave of criticism that they would absolutely deserve. And so that's an important thing to keep stock of here, right? It's like, now that this is probably going to go through, it could, fall apart at city council, but I doubt that that's going to happen. Now that this seems like a reality, it becomes incumbent on us. I would include myself. It's also on you guys, in the city, in the chat, wherever you are, to hold the city and the Sixers accountable to what they're saying they're going to do, should do, and frankly won't do. Because that, when you have these big projects, the excuse is always like, oh, well, there was just an unforeseen thing. We didn't know this. And now we need X. Now we need Y. We need more time. We need more money. We need more this. It's important that we hold the Sixers to the standard of, this is what they wanted. This is what they asked for. They're getting it. Nothing more on top of that, or at least minimal more on top of that within reason.
And you better believe that they've done their homework when looking at those other cities like DC that you bring up, Slade. They've done their homework to see how those things worked or maybe failed in some areas where they wanted to make sure that that does not happen. So there will be still continued pushback even with this announcement from the mayor, and to have those concerns. And you see people talking about the AMC theater downtown that they like going to. I see recognize Claire from the Eagles show, jumping in and talking about just that, the AMC theater being downtown. Hope that doesn't impact anything. All we can do right now Slade and Claire, is take their word for what they said they are going to do and what they're not going to do, and not allowing those things that they have mentioned to not happen and to interfere with what's going on in that Chinatown area. And even when they gave us that tour, what was it, right there by was it Filbert? No, was it it was on the back end. I can't remember when they gave us that tour, and they took us behind the fashion district and where they went. I want to say it was right there at Filbert, when they showed us how far back it would go.
Yes.
And
it's the old Greyhound
the bus
stop,
depot. Yeah.
Correct? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the bus depot there, right there, that's where it would end and that's where it would stop, and not get into any other part of Chinatown back there.
Right.
Yep. So we hope that they follow through with their word. That's all we can go off of at this point, and see where things go over, what is this, the next, 7 years, as they try to put this thing together and start to tear things down and start to rebuild. Build that area and build that arena.
Yeah. No, and it really is like they need to get started relatively soon, because there is that drop dead date of 2031 where they need to be somewhere. So I think that I think the Sixers are happy for it. There's still, like I said, more has to be voted on by city council, but at least we're starting to progress in a direction where we can get a little bit of finality and moving on to the next steps, which I appreciate.
What were you doing when you were coming to town, going on Market Street? What were you doing?
It was a lot of getting dragged along by my mother and my sisters. And so we had neighbors growing up that it was two girls who were my sister's ages. That's the only children that were in that house.
Right.
So when we would go on these trips, it's like it's the only son in either family getting dragged down with during the day, the moms and the sisters. And I'm like, oh boy, I'm at my fifth department store of the day. But we'd also, some of the things that I still love now, like going to Reading Terminal Market.
Sure.
And every time you're there, you discover like, oh, there's this it's not new, but this new to me at the time, like, oh, I went to this deli. Oh, I went to Denick's. Oh, I went here. I got a roast beef. I got candy from, Amish people that are here in town just selling at their little store in there. So that was like, I always loved going to Reading Terminal.
Mm-hmm.
We used to watch I think it's still at Macy's, that like Christmas light show that they do, that big thing. That was always like a Christmas season tradition for us. But it was mostly just at the time, as someone who grew up in the suburbs, it was like, wow, I'm in the big city, and just like everything is just vibrant and bright, and there you just see all kinds of things that you don't get exposed to being out in the suburbs, where you're not even that close together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is spread out. So just that I remember that as a kid, and that's not to say you can't have that experience without this arena, right? Like there's certainly all sorts of great neighborhoods and places to go in the city. But I do, for me, that memory of like coming out of Market East, and I'll never call it Jefferson Station except to acknowledge that they changed it now. Coming out of Market East and just being in the middle of like all this stuff was a very cool experience for me as a kid. And so I hope that many more people are able to have that.
How about you, Derek?
Yeah, well, I mean, like Kyle, grew up in the suburbs and then came in for college. So my college experience would be mostly around restaurants, and we'll call them beverage establishments.
Sure.
Which we sampled all across the city.
I'm a big fan of beverage establishments. Yeah.
But in terms of like coming in as a kid, like my dad had a 17 game plan for the Phillies for years and years and years and years and years. So I came to probably close to 100 Phillies games where we drive down, get on Fern Rock, take the entire Broad Street line. I learned what real alcoholism really was on that train. And then we would watch a game, and it was just, I legitimately probably 100 times as a kid we came down here, followed that path, and it was great. It was really like it was such, growing up as a Phillies fan and coming in here and being able to be in the arena and get to the arena. And that's part of why you really need public transportation to take a step up here. But it was just an experience that I don't think we necessarily would have come in here and done if we had to drive the entire way at that time. So it was, I mean, as a Phillies fan, it was fantastic.
And for me, it was just, I mean, I've been here in the city my entire life, and first time my mom really allowed me to go by myself, me and my best friend, probably about 13, take the 52 to 52nd Street, get on the L, take the L down the 10th or 8th Street, get off at the gallery. And it wasn't just the gallery. It was go outside and go to City Blue and go to the sneaker stores outside there. Go look at some jewelry that I couldn't afford as a 13-year-old or 14-year-old, just looking in the windows and going to get some of the food that's out there. Going over to Chestnut Street, walking over to Walnut Street and being able to do that, stay down there for hours and just doing stuff, just being busy enough, being in the gallery for hours because there were so many different stores that we wanted to hit, or go to the food court and get some food there. Hey, let's go grab a Cinnabon and sit here and just people watch and have those things happen. So that's how busy it was back then. And it was fun. And that went away. And for this to possibly be something that allows that to come back, it's going to be really, really cool. I did not have a fake G-Unit chain in college. I did not, Martian. That was not on my agenda. Did you have the
G-Unit sneakers, though?
I did not. I didn't like those. I did like the Sean Carter ones, the Jay-Z ones when they came out. Did not have those either. But you can get those in the gallery, man. You can go to City Blue. You can get those there. But I did not have it. I did not have those at all. So
who is this? There's a guy who has been very forceful in the chat saying we only support the arena, which, by the way, we've been pretty middle of the road on I'd said, if anything, slight lean towards supporting it, but not. And then it's saying, so our experiences are more important than people who live in China. No, of course not. I've said over and over again that those people deserve to be heard, that they were an important part of this whole process. And every single show that we've done, I've said, if they kill the project, that's the one acceptable or like understandable thing that I could hear, right? Like I can't speak to, I said this on another show, I can't speak to the experience of being an immigrant and the value of that sort of community, right? Where I listened to the town hall where there was one man's story who really resonated with me, who said, no, I'm a business owner now that when I came to this country, I couldn't speak English. And part of the way I was able to, build myself and my life up and my family up was being able to come here and say, these are like-minded people who they can speak Mandarin to me, right? But then can also help me learn English, and their support for me there and their support for the type of business that I have. And those stories are really powerful and are worth hearing, but they are also not the only people in the city. And so that's why I thought it's also important to listen to those people from the various unions who, frankly, a lot of them live in that neighborhood or near that neighborhood. This isn't just their job. This is a project that's being built in their home, essentially by their home, that they get the economic impact of it, feeding them and their family, but also look at that as like, this is a point of pride. Like, I want this. I live here. I grew up here. So to say that like we're only centering our perspectives is not true. We've spent the whole lead up into this decision saying this is a complicated issue that a lot of people are weighing in on. All I'm telling you is what my relationship with that area is like, the memories that I have, that I hope other people have. And the decision is being made at a level higher than me anyway. So unless you're suggesting that I'm like going to get into political advocacy and get into things like that, we're on a Sixers podcast. We're talking about things that relate to the Sixers, and that's about the end of that story.
Not to mention when we talk about the Penn's Landing opportunity that they had a few years ago, I like that idea too.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're just stuck on this one. No,
I would say we are definitely pro the arena being in Philadelphia.
Yes,
that's the number one guiding.
That I think is fair, but I think we've all been pretty open about the potential impacts it would have on Chinatown and that community. And Kyle brought up something like, I brought this up on a previous show. My grandmother was almost in the exact same situation where she moved over here from Hungary, and a big part of her being able to acclimate was finding people from Hungary themselves who could help her adjust and learn English and get situated. So I'm very sensitive to that as well. But I'm not going to lie, I like it being in Philadelphia, and there's so much impact financial that you can't just look at that one community. Do I know the full impacts of everything? No. And I've tried to be pretty measured because of that. But it is more than just that one aspect.
We do have souls. We care about people.
Of course we do.
We care about people.
I care about every person in Philadelphia,
yes,
including those in and around Chinatown. And my biggest hope here is that the arena gets built and none of these concerns come to fruition, that somehow that Chinatown is able to benefit. That is, in my heart of hearts, what I want. I would like for everybody in the surrounding area to feel positive impact from it. Do I think that'll happen? Probably not, but that's what I'm going to hope for.
Every time we've talked about that, Kyle, you said that. So people coming in, just give a chance and listen to what we're saying about some of the stuff where it may not go exactly with what you believe or feel like we're not. Listen to the entire episode and hear what we're saying, that it's not just about us. Sure, we give our personal experiences, but we're not the ones building it. So we're not billionaires. We don't know. We're not worried about them. We're worried about the city and how this is going to work for the city and hopefully help out there in Chinatown as they are trying to work with them to make sure it's beneficial for everyone that's involved.
And really, we're reacting to the news. And I think we've just tried to lay out both the pros and the cons of it being Market East versus Camden, all of those. It's not like we're the ones planning this or have any
We knew
role
it
in
wasn't going back to South Philly, or they weren't staying in South Philly.
Yes.
That's been clear the whole time.
Yep, absolutely. We got a bunch of super chats. We care about those too. We appreciate it. Spider_man 2099. Is that the new movie that they?
That's 10 years after the Blade Runner sequel. I don't know what's going on.
Is that all right? Well, glad they're staying. Just wondering, where will I park? I drive from over 2 hours away.
I do have some obviously tentative information on this stuff. So there are a lot of proposals, balls in the air. This is something that will likely have to be hashed out to a more serious degree. I know they have agreements in place with various garages in the area where if you're someone who wants to drive, you will be able to buy parking ahead of time in a specific garage. And so part of the problem that they're thinking about is not just, I have to drive to and park in Center City, but what if you said, hey, I thought I was going to park here. You wait in line for that specific garage, and then you get to the front of the line and it's like, hey, we don't have any more space because there is a limited amount of space in these garages. So I know that's one thing that they're doing or have at least proposed on the parking front to incentivize other people to take the train and to, so spots are open for people like Spider-Man and other people who are coming from far away from the suburbs, wherever. I know that part of the proposal has been season ticket holders will get some form of I don't know if it's like a SEPTA key, some form of transit pass that they are able to use in order to get to games, and not just bundled with season tickets. And so there are a bunch of things that will all probably have to be implemented and honestly iterated on in the next, let's say, 5 years or so as they're really ramping up and getting things going. But I understand the people who are coming from far away that still want to come to games. Mm-hmm. This is stuff that you guys need concrete information on. And as soon as we can get it, I don't think it'll be soon. It'll be closer to when the arena opens. Obviously, we will let you guys know.
Bookmark this. We will be back, and we will let you know in 2030 where the show.
More super chats that we do have here. Let's see what we have. Bree Corey says, plus a possible WNBA team. And Vince, our GM, also throwing in there, do you think the second arena helps with getting a WNBA team? If anyone missed it, Portland was given a WNBA team. It was announced today, so Portland has one. And so many people here, of course, we'll get all the local stuff, as like, get the new arena done so you can get a WNBA team. And so for that point, maybe that will help. Maybe that will be the case. Maybe it won't. But that would be something that would be pretty cool at that time if they were able to do something like that. There will be many more women basketball players that will be very, very good coming out of college, where it's not going to be Caitlin Clark, but it might be a different version of Caitlin Clark as a top player. Juju Watkins, she's going to be in the pros already, maybe, hey, she might want to get out of that city and say, you know what, let's go east. Let's go east into the new spot and do that. So that's just one piece of it. And before we get to Derek and Kyle's thoughts on that, we want to make sure that we tell everybody, again, make sure you sign up for the Die Hard program, and Die Hard members have an opportunity to hang out with Zach Berman and get a new copy of his new book, where Zach is going to be here in studio with everybody and signing a copy of his book. This is a Die Hard only event, so you're going to have to log into the site, RSVP. And details are all there on the site. Again, allphly.com to make sure you check it out.
To be clear, because Vince yelled at me the last time when I didn't mention it, it is, in addition to your Die Hard, it is a paid event.
Yes.
And that includes a copy of the book and an autograph and a loss and Papa Shot to either Kyle or I.
Yes.
All of those, it's official.
You see how he left me out, that I will not be in the Papa Shot. I'm not participating.
Look, you're a distant third, buddy. I'm sorry.
That's fair. All right. It's called The Franchise.
It's literally 2 shots behind you. So I don't know about all that.
I can only talk stuff to one person on this set, and it's not Kyle, so it's going to be Devon.
The book signing Q&A Monday, October 7th. That's going to be 6:30 here in our offices, in our studio again, and you can stop on by, talk to Zach, get the Q&A going. The book is entitled The Franchise, Philadelphia Eagles, A Curated History of the Birds, and that is from our own Zach Berman, forward by Eagle great
Vince said,
Malcolm
and
Jenkins.
Food. Did you mention the food? I'm making sure that apparently there will be food.
Malcolm Jenkins did the forward for Zach's book, so that's pretty cool. All right, food too. Great. Done. Come on through. Come hang out. WNBA team.
On the WNBA front. So it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you followed this closer than I have, Devon. I think it's been said that part of the reason Philly doesn't have one is the WNBA doesn't want to expand into places where there's uncertainty with something like an arena, right?
Yes.
Like that's a big part of why they've been left out, because this whole situation has been hanging over it. So I would say, as if there are people in the chat who want me to like leverage our voices or whatever as Sixers experts, here's the time. Josh Harris, bring a WNBA team to Philadelphia. It is such a clear-cut opportunity for you guys. You want to add, however many events per summer, per year. That's an easy way to do it. Big basketball community here. What I would want from this arena is for it to be the modern basketball home of Philadelphia. So that's the Sixers. That's a new WNBA team. That's the Big Five. Like they already moved. They're moving out of the Palestra.
City Six, man.
It should be at the Palestra, but how long that'll stay there, who knows?
A lot of people you got to hold. So
yeah, you want to have a lot of people in there. I hope that it becomes the modern basketball home of Philadelphia. That would be the hope, building this thing.
Get them in early. Get your team a little bit early. And as you go in, you are now selling everybody on not just the 76ers, but the WNBA team, which would add those more dates, Kyle, that you're talking about in the summer because of the games that are played from, May until as it's going on right now, getting ready to head into the playoffs. Then you transition right into the Sixers, the other events that will be there. Get the WNBA team as soon as possible, and get
no offense to Portland, but if Portland can get a WNBA team, what are we talking about here?
Come on.
Bring one to Philly.
Come on.
No, there's 700 dates per year between Comcast and Josh Harris to fill. Like, get it done.
Get it done.
Team, just get it done.
Absolutely. Get it done. Another piece of breaking news. The king of breaking news in the basketball world. We got to get the thoughts from Kyle and Derek on Adrian Wojnarowski announcing today that he is retiring from covering the NBA, leaving ESPN to go and become, which is a new thing in college basketball, a general manager of the athletic department, and specifically the basketball program at his alma mater, St. Bonaventure. Adrian Wojnarowski leaving.
Walking away from 3 years and upwards of $20 million left on his deal.
Wow. Interesting.
Woj, I'll take that money if you don't want it,
Pass
buddy.
it around, man. Go ahead. Derek, your thoughts when you saw this?
I mean, so like I've known Adrian for a while. He was close, obviously, with Jonathan Givony at Draft Express, brought him with him to ESPN when he left. It is, he, for a guy who is on top of the basketball world, he's just always been very generous with his time. In fact, I think when we met, he introduced himself to me before I introduced myself to him, which is completely backwards. I'm irrelevant to you. I'm a peon, but he was very good at connecting with people. And he would, if you reached out to him, he would respond. He would respond sometimes just without being prompted to. He would just send notes about things that you had said or written and things that just really didn't benefit him at all. He was just a good dude. And I think a lot of people that probably saw his, online, because when you're breaking news, you tend to have a little bit of a dry way of presenting it, maybe don't realize how just good of a person he was. And I was pretty blown away with that when I got to know him. And I think, some people will say like, oh, well, he gets news because he's at ESPN. And certainly at this point, he has such a platform, you almost have to. But you got to remember back when he started at Yahoo Sports. Like Yahoo Sports had nothing.
He was Yahoo
Sports had nothing in terms of a sports department. It was really made. They had they had fantasy sports, and that's about all that they had. They were made by him, and he built up his connection and his brand not because he was Adrian Wojnarowski, but because he was really good at connecting with people and really good, at showing them that he cared and being able to build that network pretty organically. And, I give him a lot of thanks for the times that he has reached out and the conversation that we've had. I give him a lot of credit for what he was able to accomplish. And I'm really happy for him because I do think this was the kind of job that it can, I think there's a kind of shelf life on, especially his kind of job where you are on.
You're aging like a president.
24/7. There were reports that he was awake 20 to 21 hours per day trying to keep up. And, I think if you go back, the origination of Woj bombs wasn't breaking news. It was when he would drop a column. And I think at one point, breaking news became such a big part of his job that he couldn't pivot away from that. And I wonder if maybe, not to say he, regrets it because, he got to the top of his profession, made a lot of money, but I almost wonder if that kind of took him off course and took him down a job that he maybe didn't intend. But I mean, he was the king of news breaking. And like I said, there was just a thoughtful person underneath that I'm not sure all that many people got to see, but that was 100% there. And I think was pretty instrumental in his success. Like I said, he built that.
Columns, huh? That was the breaking news.
Oh yeah.
Woj bombs.
No,
I did not know that part.
He used to be a prolific column writer.
No, I knew that, but I didn't know that's where it originated as far as a Woj bomb.
Like I said, I think to get where he had to be able to connect with people at a level that I don't think people give him credit for, just because I think people think it's preordained because he works at ESPN.
Kyle, how did you not break this news?
How did I not break it? Well, so I'm glad you brought up the columnist thing, Derek, because I'll never forget the first time I actually heard from Woj. It wasn't because I broke any news. It wasn't because I beat him to a scoop. It was because I wrote an article that was more in the column lane. And that was that's kind of who he was deep down, right? He saw that, sent me a message on Twitter, and that was the start of for years, I talked back and forth with him about various things, about the business, about how he got to where he's at, about, frankly, a bunch of stuff I won't say in here because it's more on the personal side of things. But that's who he was, right? I think he was in a very cutthroat business, right? I don't think it's any secret. There's been a lot of allusions to it today on social media that he was sort of a mentor to his biggest competitor right now, and that turned into a bit of an adversarial relationship. And that would make you think oh, this guy's got to be just a behind the scenes just menace, but he's not. He is a genuinely helpful and kind person that I think if you just if you take that tweet he sent and look through the replies, the quotes, all the way it is circulated, and see how many people in our industry were relaying their own version of what we're saying, which is he was kind to me. He offered me advice as a young reporter, a young media person, or he reached out about something you wrote, say, hey, great job. Hey, you got promoted. You got a new job. Hey, really happy for you. That's awesome. That seems like a great spot for you. And you just add all those up, and it makes sense that he became this, person in the know because he had so many good and positive relationships with so many people on the media side, in the league, players, coaches, executives, whoever it is. And to me, it's just a reminder, whatever your job is, just be nice to people, right? And not because it's necessarily going to turn into you're a big newsbreaker, but because generally if you treat people with respect and with kindness, and certainly I know this is I might be the wrong messenger for this, but if you treat people the way you should, it comes back to you in many different forms. Some of that for Adrian was professional, but a lot of it is personal. To be able to retire from media, to go take this job at your alma mater and have this overwhelming wave of people be like, man, you're one of the best to do it, but also you were great to me. That's what a legacy should, like, that's a legacy you can be proud of in a business where you are just, it's compete with everybody. He did it the right way. And so happy for a guy I would call a friend. And hopefully one day I have the ability to turn down $20 million and go work at my alma mater.
I didn't see it coming. I don't have.
Would that be Westchester or Hatboro? Or are you keeping both of them?
Westchester.
I don't have the stories or the relationship with Adrian Wojnarowski that these guys do on a personal level, but just loving basketball the way that I do, following the NBA the way that I do, and learning about different writers and all and different things about the business. I followed them, and it was an easy follow. It was a must follow. The one time that I did interact with him at the arena, there was some downtime. I approached him and introduced myself and all, and told him about the radio show. Asked him if he would be free to come on. He said sure. It didn't happen right away, but it did happen later on when we had the opportunity to reconnect. Came on my Saturday morning show, myself and Barrett Brooks, the former Eagles player that you guys know about, and we had a really good conversation. And afterwards, he texted me later on and said, that was a fun interview. That was good stuff. And he told me, and we didn't talk much after this, but you're really good at your job, and I appreciated that, especially coming from him. So that's my only interaction. We didn't really talk much there afterwards, but I always listen. And at that time, he was starting the vertical. Right. So part of it was, of course, you know how it works. Of course, he wants to push his thing of what he's getting going. I was cool with that because I was talking to Adrian Wojnarowski. And I was
talking to the guy.
I was maybe building something, at least a relationship, to be able to talk to him going forward. It didn't necessarily have to be on air, on camera, or anything. It was just more of developing, building that relationship, and having somebody in my corner that I could reach out to if need be for something like that. So he is who he is. And I watch, as Martian says, I'm a real introvert. These guys will tell you, I am. I do feel like, though, that I try to build relationships.
He knows everybody, though, somehow.
I do know a lot of people.
The introvert who talks to anybody.
That's not false. I do get a chance to meet a lot of different cool people, especially being in this business as long as I have. So, hell, I mean, one of the things that Derek and I really sparked our friendship was because you always try to figure other guys out in your area, right? And you get to know them. You be nice to people. Derek heard me talking to Zach Lowe before Zach Lowe was really Zach Lowe on my radio show. And I think one of the things that you said at that time was, all right, if you're talking to Zach Lowe, I think you know a little bit about basketball, because not a lot of people were talking to Zach Lowe at that point. Mm-hmm. He wasn't on ESPN at that time. What was he doing at that time when he was blogging? And
he was at Celtics blog back in the day.
But he was somewhere else. NBC? No,
it wasn't Yahoo. It was one of the other sites, but
might have been Roto World. Was it one of those? I'd have to go back.
He would do a collection where he would link to the best blog posts of the day. Yeah, that's what I remember. So, I can't remember the outlet now.
And that's how Derek and I first became friends and went on from there. Maybe it was CBS, and then Kyle and I just crossing paths, reading his stuff. He listened to the show, couldn't come on the show because he's doing stuff on other spots, but it's just about who you know and how you treat people, as Kyle said. And according to so many people, when you look at those replies, everybody on Twitter has him as you lock in, and his stuff pops up on your phone as an alert of what he says. I
saw a lot of funny memes to put a bow on this. Turning Woj notifications off, and it was like the scene after where they destroy the bat signal in Batman because he's done his job and all that. I refuse to take it off. So if I have to sit through a few St. Bonaventure notifications from Woj retweets, then that's the cost of doing business.
I already said, I was like, I'm not going to take the notification off.
No.
I'm just not. Not right now. Not right now. So it's going to be interesting to see who they fill that spot with at ESPN they will have their choices. You're not stealing my guys away from me, though.
Claire in the chat, I think referring to Zach Lowe, said he was at the American Lawyer early on.
Oh, he was a lawyer early on, yes.
But I do know he was also a crime reporter, and he's talked about how that has informed, his life and his career in many ways.
It was Sports Illustrated. I forget what blog they had, but it was
that's what
Sports
it was.
Illustrated.
So that's a great callback from Claire in there. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember him talking about being a lawyer and start that crime reporting and how he would use that to what he was doing and trying to get into the sports world. So fun stuff. A lot of breaking news here on the show today, and we appreciate it because it made this Wednesday with all of you great. We appreciate everybody checking in on this Wednesday. And it's now time for our world famous roll call.
Yes. And so let me say,
a lot of people,
in the spirit of what I just said about saying positive and treating people with kindness, there was certainly a lot of back and forth today in the chat from me. We accept all people here, all including other fan bases.
Welcome.
If you're pro arena, well, maybe an exception, but if you're pro arena, if you're anti arena, all voices are welcome here as long as you can come in here and be part of the community, be productive, try to have a real discussion rather than shouting at people, including if it's at me or one of my colleagues here, or definitely don't say anything mean to super producer Bree.
Kyle's not mad. He just talks loudly.
I will come for you wherever you are.
And it's just our opinions.
But thank you guys for coming through. Each and every one of you. Thank you to Danny Carino. Am I mispronouncing that?
Danny Green?
Hopefully I pronounced that right. Danny,
what up,
you
Danny?
can correct me if I'm wrong.
Danny.
Hello to Eugene Ross.
Gene.
Phi Chi. My girl Winona.
Hey, Nona.
Aaron. X-Man.
Aaron.
Money Mar, who said Kyle and Woj greater than Jordan and Pippen. I certainly would not go that far, my friend, but thank you very much. Thank you to Darkness.
Turn down the lights. Whoa.
Who's in the building. Martian Lynch is here. Jess in the building, as always. Claire F., thank you for the Zach Lowe lore drop. Yes. And thank you for stopping by to listen to the show. Thank you to Sean Ford. Thank you to Mr. Sandman, who says he's hoping his buddy's kid will get drafted by the Philly WNBA team.
We said bring me a dream. Hey, make that happen.
Fingers crossed, or prayers up, all that for friends of the friends on this pod.
Yes.
Thank you to Hinky stopping. Whoa, there's a blast from the past as we're talking about some Sixer stuff, some arena stuff. Bootzilla in the building.
Boots,
Jay
double
the Jungle.
overtime.
Jay the Jungle in the building. Aeon Got Beats is in the building. We had super chats today from
bring some of those beats in
our
here.
guy Vince.
What's up, Vinny?
We had one from Spider-Man 2099, not to be confused with Blade Runner 2089. 2049, excuse me, correct myself. And thank you to Corey for our other super chat today. Black Gritty in the house today.
What up, Gritty?
Spo Babby in the house. I Gavini. My guy Will is in here somewhere. Brian Knight, Gabe Cerbero. There are so many. R. Crawford. We had a lot of names in here today.
Make sure you check out Black Gritty and the cheap seats. 6 o'clock. I think it's 6 o'clock right here. 7 o'clock
there
right
you
here
go.
on PHLY.
Cousin Grace in the chat today.
What up, cuz?
Oh, that's a lot of names, and there are many more. If I didn't get to you, I apologize. But if you come back tomorrow or another day during the season, off season, whatever it is, we love you all. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. If you hit the thumbs up button, maybe I will get to your name on a future show, and maybe we'll still be talking about the Sixers Arena. Thank you to our wonderful producer, Bree, for rocking with us. We'll catch you guys tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.